Okay, we want to talk about some of our local races. They've been so interesting to watch. We thought some of them were going to be a little closer than maybe they are right now. I want to talk about the Love-Owens race, first of all, which in the most recent poll, Love 51, Owens at 38%. This is one that many thought was going to be a little closer than this. Terry, give us a take on this race.
I think Love is safely ahead in this race. I think Doug Owens' strategies just haven't worked. You know, he's tried to attack her on small things like how she's spending her money on mailers and other kinds of campaign ad tactics that haven't worked. His strategy positioning himself as sort of the standard bearer of his father's run in Congress, Wayne Owens, and his Utah roots hasn't worked out either. I think that he had an opportunity to try to find some holes in what Mia Love had done in her first 2 years in Congress. Honestly, I think he's failed. I think Love wins this race.
It was closer in the first one, and the first time they ran.
Love won by about 5 percentage points. That translated to about 7,000 votes. It was just on the edge for Owens to decide whether he was going to give it another run again. He to me seems visibly less aggressive, less assertive in this election cycle than he was in 2014. I'm not sure why that's the case, but I don't think it served him well. I think he's going to lose.
Hasn't been substantive. That's the thing I would say for a race where, you know, arguably he could use his substance and his, you know, background.
We're not New York. Those ads don't work here. I'm sorry. If he'd run on something substantive, I think it would have made a difference.
And he's talking about tired stuff like Congress only works a 3-day week. That's not necessarily true. There's travel time. There's time in the district. That's an old argument that I really was surprised he recycled that one, honestly.
Very interesting. Talking about some of the good old playbook. Many people in Salt Lake City woke up the other morning with "Herbert is Trump" signs in their yards.
It was a great political trick. I think no one knows who put them out. I think they came down rather rapidly. I saw one just on my way up here, but what amazes me is the energy around the Democrat operatives are just so much more lively and so much more ambitious than the Republican operatives. You see it all over the state. You see Misty Snow signs. You don't see Mike Lee. You see Clemens signs, or right next to Rob Bishop signs. And I think this was just there's one more last effort, and they put him out. And Weinholz, of course, has completely denied it. Nothing to do with it. I just don't know any other camp that would have done it. Maybe it was the Trump camp. Maybe they were trying to tie themselves to Herbert. But
he has a Herbert is Trump on his website, so there's that.
I think my favorite part of the saga was driving down 9th and 9th the day after the signs came up, and Herbert was cut off of the signs, and so you just saw these mangled signs that said Trump, and then they came down.
That's when they came down.
They had Matheson is Pelosi in the day.
I'm sure
they did indeed.
Yes.
Yeah. So the Republican operatives have done their job.
Right. Well, yes. In past years,
that's their job.
In past years, yes. Not so much energy this year. Right.
Amen.
Well, collector's item now, maybe for some. Really quickly, the last question is: anytime we go through elections like this, we start talking about Orrin Hatch. All right. If there's a change in the Senate, the Republicans are no longer in the majority. This could change his assignment. It makes everyone ask: is he going to run again? What's the answer?
Some people think with Senator Clinton in the White House that will make him want to leave, and some people think because she's in the White House that will make him want to stay. So it's a real jumble. I remember when he was won the election last time. People that were there in his office when he took the oath and began another term, they came back saying he'll die in office. And that was a way of saying that he's so important, he's worked so long to get to this point, it's so important to our state to have him in that position that he won't voluntarily leave.
We've never had a president pro tem of the Senate from Utah.
That's true.
We've never had a chairman of 3 committees. Orrin Hatch has been the chairman of 3 different committees in his time in office. He's currently the chair of finance. We've never had somebody who he's the longest serving Republican. That's a historical in the United States Senate. In the history of the United States Senate and the Republican Party, he is the longest serving Republican. These are some pretty historic markers. I do think that his thought process right now is he's going to run again. But if the Senate turns to the Democratic Party, I believe you'll see him think differently about it. His life right now is much easier than it was 2 years ago. When you have a security detail and you can move around Washington, around the state, it changes.
Nice.
It changes your life.
He's worked long and hard to get
Yeah,
to that
he's
point.
worked long and hard to get there. So I think it would be a slightly different consideration if we lose control of the Senate. But right now he's the chair of the Finance Committee. Any tax reform would have to go through that committee. But he's been a phenomenal United States Senator. And the people of Utah don't have the same kind of problem with age with leaders as people in other states may have.
Terry, last word on
The
this?
Senate power structure is based on majority. Orrin Hatch does more for Utah in the Senate than he does not in the Senate. So I think he will run again.
Won't have that long to see, will we?
I've always wanted to be a part of an after party, so I'm glad we were able to
Let's
do
just
this.
hope he does something really big with it. Meaning
Right.
gets us a national laboratory or lands us something important for our state.
Brings home some bacon.
Yeah.
Is that what you want?
I
The
think
bacon
that's
of
what
the
she's calling
Kent C.
for.
Gardner
It's all
Institute. Yes.
That's a nice plug right there. Thank you all for your great insight today. This has been a great program. Thank you.